Moses was born at a time when the Israelites were suffering under oppression in Egypt. Pharaoh had ordered that all Hebrew baby boys be killed, but God protected Moses through his mother, who hid him and later placed him in the Nile River. Pharaoh's daughter found him, adopted him, and raised him in the royal palace, even though he was a Hebrew.
Moses was born in a very difficult time. The Israelites were slaves in Egypt, and Pharaoh had ordered that all Hebrew baby boys be killed because he feared their growing numbers. Moses was born under a death sentence, but his parents saw that he was special and hid him for 3 months. When they could no longer hide him, they placed him in a basket and set him on the Nile River, placing his life completely in God's hands. God performed a miracle. Pharaoh's daughter found the baby, felt compassion for him, and brought him into the palace. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's house, receiving royal education, wisdom, and power. Yet despite growing up in luxury, Moses never forgot who he was. He was an Israelite. One day, Moses saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew man. Filled with anger, he acted impulsively and killed the Egyptian. When his action became known, Moses fled Egypt and escaped to the land of Midian. There, he spent 40 years as a shepherd, moving from the palace to the wilderness, from honor to humility. But in the wilderness, God was preparing him. One day, Moses saw a burning bush that was on fire but not consumed. God spoke to him from the bush and said, "I have seen the suffering of my people, and I am sending you to bring them out of Egypt." Moses was afraid and made many excuses. "Who am I? I am not a good speaker. The people will not believe me." But God reassured him, saying, "I will be with you." Moses obeyed and returned to Egypt. He stood before Pharaoh and boldly declared, "Let my people go." Though Pharaoh resisted, God revealed his power through the 10 plagues. Eventually, the Israelites were released. Moses led them out of slavery into freedom. Along the journey, Moses witnessed great miracles. The Red Sea parted, water flowed from a rock, and manna fell from heaven. Despite the people's constant complaints, Moses remained faithful, interceding for them before God. On Mount Sinai, God gave Moses the law and entrusted him with leading his people.
Although Moses grew up surrounded by Egyptian wealth and power, he never forgot his people. One day, when he saw an Egyptian beating an Israelite, he intervened and killed the Egyptian. Fearing for his life, Moses fled to Midian, where he spent many years as a shepherd. During this time, God was shaping him through humility, patience, and waiting.
At the appointed time, God appeared to Moses in the burning bush that was not consumed and called him, saying, "Go and bring my people out of Egypt." Even though Moses felt weak and unqualified, God chose to use him. Through Moses, God led the Israelites out of slavery, parted the Red Sea, and guided them through the wilderness toward the Promised Land. Lesson: the story of Moses teaches us that God can use anyone, anywhere. He does not focus on where you come from, but on a heart that is willing to obey him. Seasons of waiting are not wasted. They are God's training ground. And when God calls you, he also gives you the strength and ability to fulfill that calling. Have you ever felt like you're not qualified for what you're called to do? Let's look at the life of Moses for some powerful lessons. First, God can use anyone. Moses was a Hebrew raised in an Egyptian palace, a man of 2 worlds. Yet, God chose him for a huge task. Second, failure doesn't cancel God's calling. Moses made a terrible mistake and fled into the desert for 40 years, but God didn't give up on him. He met Moses right where he was. Third, God uses our weaknesses. Moses said he was a poor speaker, so God provided his brother Aaron to speak for him, showing that our limitations don't limit God. And finally, obedience brings deliverance. When Moses obeyed, even when it seemed impossible, God parted the Red Sea and set his people free. Remember, God sees further than we do. He's not looking for the perfect, but for the obedient. Thanks for watching.